Authorized climber fall protection. In fall protection, there are three main recognized categories for climbing expertise. The first level is authorized climber, the second level is competent climber, and the third is competent rescuer. The goal of this authorized climber course is to provide the information necessary to understand the rules and regulations of fall protection, the equipment that is worn, and how that equipment is used. This course will cover the regulations and standards that govern anchorages, components and their use, recognizing and responding to hazards, equipment used and the standards that govern, and inspection of equipment. In both Canada and the United States, the federal regulations represent the minimum level of safety compliance. State and provincial regulations must exceed the federal regulations. Therefore, state and provincial standards are more stringent than the national standards. In the U.S., the fall protection regulations that we must follow are found in 29 CFR 1926 and 1910. The sections that apply to telecommunication work are Subpart E 1926.104, 1926.105, and 1910.268. For clarification, 1926 Subpart M of the regulation excludes telecommunications work. Some states choose to have their own version of the federal OSHA department. In these cases, their regulations must be equal to or more stringent than the federal regulations. In Canada, the fall protection regulations that we must follow are in the Canadian Labour Code Part 2, Section 12.10. Canadian provinces each have their own programs, and these programs must be equal to or more stringent than the federal regulations. In Canada, the telecommunications industry falls under federal regulations at all times, except for the training requirement. Training is left to the provincial programs.
ANSI and CSA standards are not law. They are most often referred to as voluntary standards or best practice standards. These industry standards are written by experts and are peers in fall protection. This course is based on ANSI 810.32, Z359, and the CSA Z259 standards.
We just learned that not using fall protection is called free climbing and is prohibited. So when do you need to use fall protection? Fall protection should be used whenever there is a possibility of falling 6 feet or more. The 6-foot distance is measured from the bottom of the feet to the ground or the next lower surface. There are variations of the 6-foot rule in the U.S. federal plan versus the state plans. In Canada, there are also variations between the federal and provincial codes. The CSA 259 in Canada and the U.S. ANSI Z359 both use the 6-foot rule. For consistency, this training course is going to use the 6-foot rule. The 6-foot rule means that when your feet are 6 feet above the ground or next lower level, you need to use a fall protection system to prevent injury or death from a possible fall.
Now let's take a minute to review all the individual parts that make up a fall protection system. As the component name appears on the screen, try and identify the piece of equipment. Dorsal D-ring, energy absorber, full body harness, positioning device or belt, double locking snap, rope grab, lanyard, and the leg straps.